Right. Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back. Today we'll be doing the last lesson on number patterns as well as creating our own patterns and sequences. All right, so yesterday I did say that there were a couple of things that we needed to look at again. And we will then bring them into this lesson and we'll go through them here. Right, so at the end of this lesson, I'd want you to obviously continue to learn how to find a two process spider diagram, and then also create your own sequences and finding the rules for those sequences. Right, before I get started, I'm just going to have a look at the chat section and make sure I can see that as well. All right, that's perfect. Okay, I think I see everyone. Yes, cool stuff. So before we get into the activities that we did yesterday, or that we were supposed to look at yesterday and we decided to look at today, we'll start off with how to create your own sequence, right? So I did say that the first thing will be continuing with finding a two-process spider diagram, or finding the operations of a two-process spider diagram, but as well as looking at how to create your own sequences. Right. So first things first, we're going to look at the following steps on how to create a sequence. Right. It's quite straightforward, but it's nice to have a sort of step and instructions on what to think about first, because sometimes you might want to start with something that could be better if you do last or second, right? So this is what I think you can try to do and should work for you, right? So we have looked at a couple of sequences and different types of spider diagrams. We've looked at how to find the different rules, so you guys should be confident in how to find general rules, how to look at the different patterns, and also how to look at input and output values and the processes that happen to those values. So first thing would be, if you are creating your own, would be to decide whether you want a sequence that is an increasing or a decreasing sequence. So you need to think about, do you want your sequence to be increasing or decreasing? That's the first thing. And if you want an increasing sequence, then that means you know that your numbers need to be in ascending order, right? And if it's decreasing, it needs to be in descending order. So that's the first thing. As soon as you know that, number two, you move on to, you need to now choose the first term of your sequence. And the reason why that is number two is because if you're looking at a decreasing sequence, then you've got to choose where you're starting, right? At what number you're starting, because it's not going to be your conventional number one, right? So it's not going to be the usual one or one of the earliest numbers. I mean, sometimes it's not one, sometimes it's 8. It depends on what your sequence is or what your pattern is. So if you want to start at, or if you want to look at a decreasing sequence, then you've got to think about, what's the first number, right? Where do I want to start from, or what number do I want to start at, and then decrease from there. So if you're starting at 100, for example, right, and then you will do the next step, which is decide the process, right, which is how you would like your sequence to continue from there onwards, right? So you need to decide the process. Once you've decided what your first term is. So I'm going to have a volunteer, right, who is going to help us do one together. So that's why I've got you. Let's do it together. Now I want someone who is quickly going to decide on what type of sequence they want. So the first sort of answer I get from the chats, that's the person I'll pick. Okay, so that's the first person I'll pick. Just gonna wait for you guys. Anyone? So that we make it realistic. Okay. All right. Yes, Demishang. Just pop me a text in the chats so I know. What sequence you'd like to do. So I want you guys to think about it. Think about it. Do you want an increasing sequence or a decreasing sequence? Then the first person to answer, we can work on that. But we will work on it together as a class. Right. So Savannah says increasing sequence. So that's exactly what we'll do. Right now I'm going to give you, that means everybody, right? I'm going to give you a moment to think about the first term that you'd like for your increasing sequence. So we know that if it's an increasing sequence, we're looking at ascending order, right? Numbers going from smallest to biggest. Right. So the first one that I saw was a 5. Okay, so I'm going to put that here. Let's get my pen quickly. Cool. Hold on. Right, I'm going to put that here. Right, so we've got a 5. And I want to know, right, what is the process that's going to take place here? How do we want this process, or how do we want this sequence to continue from here onwards? I'm going to take the first one that I see. Right. So Savannah seems to be coming first all the time. So I have got it times 3. Right. So now I want the first answer, which would tell us what the second term would be. All right. We would have 15. Right. Third. What would be the third term? All right. What would be the third term if we just multiplying the terms themselves by 3? Okay, so the next term that you need to multiply by 3 to get the next one would be, so 45. All right, 135. Last one. What would be the next term there? that would be 6. Hold on. 7, 5. Right, having looked at that, I want us to do another one. Okay, that's great. And then we'll look at them together again. Just need to open my chats here. They were just in the way. You can see, cool. Right. So you need to tell me what the sequence, what type of sequence it should be, increasing or decreasing. Right, so I've got increasing. Let's move on to the next thing. What should the first term be? Obviously not 5, we've just done 5. Right, first term is 4. And what is the rule? Well, not a rule, but what is the process for this term? Okay, let's make it a little simpler than the big numbers that you guys are giving me right now, which would be great. But I want to make it similar, well, not similar, but a little close to what we've done. Right? If it was a -10, then remember it would have to be a decreasing. Or you're saying 100 minus 10, which, yeah, but if it's, okay, cool, plus 10. Or plus 6. Let me take plus 6. Okay. So plus 6. Right? Now, if we plus 6 to each term, and let's say this is the, well, this is the first one, right? For the second term, what would that be? That would be 10. What would the third term be? Are you guys sure it would be 16? Right, it would be 16. What would then the next term after 16 be? Okay, so 16 plus 6. All right, straight after that, what would we have? Next term, 28. And I'll do this as the last one. After 28, we have got 34. All right. Now, what I want to look at is the rule for the second one. Plus 6. How would you then write the rule? What would the rule be? All right, so we would have n, oh no, not definitely not 7. That's plus 6. All right, and then now I'm going to ask you to please find the let's see. The 16th term of the first one, right? So, sorry, I've just missed that. This is now n times 3, right? So for this one, it'll be n times 3. But I want you to find the, yes, n times 3. I want you to find the 16th term for this. Not 50th, 16th, 1 6. Right, what would that be? 16th term. Right, that would be 48. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Right. You are going to write down your own sequences. So I want to see a couple, right? You're going to write down your own numerical sequences, ask your questions, and then answer your questions. So what I want to do is work with one person at a time. Once everyone has done their own sequence and has asked their own questions. So the questions are similar to the ones that we normally ask, right? What is the general rule, right? Complete the next 4 terms and find maybe the 6th term, and perhaps the last one would be writing the general rule using an algebraic expression. All right. Okay, so I need you to first make sure that you've got a sequence with 4 terms, at least 4 terms. Right, and then as soon as you've got a sequence with 4 terms, make sure you've written your own questions, you've answered your questions, and then you can give me a green in the chat. So you can say, you can type green, right, just like this. Okay, then we will look at one person's sequence, questions, and answers. So I'm going to give you at least 2 minutes or 3 minutes to do that quickly. Okay, so it is 13:18, so I am looking at 13:21. Then we can continue. Right, so I've got the first green. Yes, now I was muted. I was giving you guys that 2 minutes. Right, so I've just, yeah, so we're almost there. I've got the first green. Got green from Pelisiwe. Right, so can we start off with Mahlodi? Right, Mahlodi, if you could give us your sequence. Yes, just post it in the chat quickly, then we can work on from there. That's fine. Okay, remember the first 4 terms. Okay, quick to Mahlodi. Okay, hold on. My bad. Right, so we've got 3, 12, 48, 192, 768. Okay, cool. And what was your first question? Okay, that's fine. We can do that afterwards. So we can do Mahlodi's one afterwards. So let's go with Malcolm since he posted his. Right, so Malcolm, what did you do there? And what 3 questions do you have? Okay, Malcolm, let's unmute your mic, please, and then I can just talk to you.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Do you have your 3 questions that you've made for this sequence that you created?
3 questions. Okay,
Yeah.
the question that I have is what did you multiply? What number did you use to multiply to the sequence?
Okay, so how did we continue the sequence? Right. So for people, so let's just give the people in the chats maybe just 1 second to quickly answer that if they have noticed what the pattern is there. Okay, so Malcolm, what happened there? What did you do? Because remember, you had to answer your own questions. Right, so we multiplied. Hold on, we multiplied the previous or each term by 4. Okay, so multiplied each term by 4, right? And what was your general rule? All right, quickly, guys, general rule for the first one. Right, that should have been now second one. We have got 100, 89, 78, 67. Firstly, what type of sequence is that? What is happening there? What is happening there? Let me know what is happening there, guys. Okay, it starts with the D. What type of sequence is it? Right. The first thing that you would have realized is that it is decreasing, right? Cool. So if it is decreasing, that means that is in descending order. Yes. Okay. Now, if it's in descending order, what is the pattern? So from 100 to get to 89, we subtracted 11, right? And then from 89 to get to 78, what happened? Right? It's pretty consistent, so we subtracted another 11. Okay, so what can we say the rule is in this particular sequence? The rule is n minus 11, right? Right, that's perfect. Okay, so you guys can now have a look at your own sequences. Right, you can create your own sequences, you can create your own different patterns, as long as there's a rule for the next person who obviously was not part of the process where you created your pattern, and that person can then help you, or rather your general rule can then help that person to work out how to find terms within that particular sequence. Right, so I'm then going to move on to what was continued from yesterday. Now I'm going to need your brains to be in the on position, right? Because you're going to have to think a little bit with these ones, right? So we are asked here to calculate the 87th term in each of the sequences, right? And we are given a couple of sequences. Also answer the questions. And the questions are, is 623 a number in this sequence? And that question is being asked particularly for the sequence in sequence A. Okay, so we can leave it just at that. Okay, so each sequence has just one question that is directed to it. Okay, so let's look at the first one. What can we say is happening there? Right, we've got 2, 5, 8, 11, and 14. Right, what is happening there? What is the pattern? Right, and this would be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth term. Okay, and you're adding 3 to each of those terms. Now they say calculate the 87th term in each of these sequences. Let's please find the 87th term. Yeah. All right, let's look at the 87th term for this sequence. Right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you need to continue that. Okay, so we can't do division. Why are we doing division, Donald? Yeah, so if we were to continue from 14, right, what would be the next number? Okay. Yes. Right. So what would be the 87th term? Nope, it wouldn't be. It's not 17, guys. 17 is the 6th term. Yeah. That would be 17. But that's only the 6th term. Now we're trying to find the 87th one. So let's first figure out what the rule is. Right, so you're looking at 90. Okay, let's look at B. Yes, okay, so let's look at B. What's happening in B? Same thing. Right? Is 334 a number in this sequence for B? 334. Do you think if we carry on counting in threes, starting from 4, we will actually get to 334? Yes? No? Right. So this over here will not be, right, a number in this sequence. Okay, so for time, I'm just going to push a little bit. So I'm going to leave the other two. Right, let's look at these ones. Okay, this flow diagram here, you've got inputs, well, we've got outputs, and we need to just calculate the inputs. For the first one, the process is times 4 plus 3, and the output is 43. Right, what is our input? What did we do, or what number did we times by 4 and add 3 and gave us 43? Right, so that's a simple 10. Right, next one, what number did we times by 4 and add 3 to? That gave us 51. Right, so we are looking at 12. What number did we times by 4, add 3? That gave us 67. Right, so we have got 16 there. And the next one give us 83. Right, we've got 20. And then the last one, we have got, what is the input for the last one? 37. Right. Okay, we're going to do just one of these, and then we should be done. Right, please look at the first one. To get to 5, what took place? What was the process? Right, and then to check, obviously, if this one is correct, you need to use the second one as well. So use the same rule for the second one. Right, so if you're saying it's times 3 plus 2, that would be 2 times 3, which is 6, plus 2 will only give you 8. All right, so that's not right. Look again. That's okay. Right, so you need to make sure whatever rule you're using, you need to check with the second one. Is it true for the second one as well? Quickly. Right, what did we do to the 1? And then what did we do to that answer to get 5? Right, so we looked at, right, you've got 1. If you make it 1 times 1 plus 5, is it true for the next one, which would be 2 times 1 is 2 plus 5, it makes it 7. If you say 1 plus 2 that makes it 3. And then if you minus 3, that makes it 1. Right. So this is a very, very, very challenging one. Remember, if you say 1 plus 1 times 5, that's 2 times 5, which makes it 10. So you're saying 3 plus 2. So if we said plus 2, and you said times 3, that would be true for this one, right? However, is it true for the first one? Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do because of time, guys, is have a look at this one, sequence 3, figure it out, and then as well as this one, and then please send both of them, right, to me via email, and I'll have a look at those for you and correct them and give them corrections and then send them back to you. Right, so you would have learned how to create your sequence, how to write questions in your own sequence, and continued how to learn how to find operations in a two-process spider diagram. And I have got a link for you guys that I want you to copy quickly right here. And yes, Donald, that was not the answer. We were just working out the last one, number 3. Okay. Please look at the link here. It's got some very, 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 very cool sort of practice games that you can do for maths, but the one that I've given you a link to is particularly a number patterns for grade 6, which is quite nice. So you're given patterns and you can work them out online, and you can answer some cool questions online as well. So please do that. And that is it from me. I will see you guys next week. I hope you had fun this week, and have a good weekend. There's no homework today since it's a Friday, so I don't particularly believe in giving homework on a Friday. But those last 2 activities that we did, you can have a look at those when you do have a moment. But otherwise, there is no homework. And my email address is right here for you to have a look at, and you can send me answers, then I'll mark that for you and send it through to you.